Hi, welcome to the Food Bank Community Garden. Today I'm going to give you a tour of our space. My name is Caroline and I'm the Community Garden Manager. If you haven't been to this space in the last couple of months, it has completely transformed with the help of a ton of volunteers. So behind me is one of our main growing plots. In this space we're growing mixed vegetables. So we've got crops like tomatoes and peppers and eggplants, which are annual crops, so we have to plant them every year. But we've also mixed in some perennials like asparagus and some berries like strawberries and blackberries. So all of the food that we harvest, or just about all of the food we harvest, goes right into the pantry. Right now there are some exceptions, like some super big ones or ugly produce or things that have splits in it that we send to the kitchen, and then the kitchen processes that food and it goes into the cafe. So we're super excited. We've seen so much change in the last 3 months, and just so much community outreach coming out to help us. In this garden, we are practicing organic practices, so we aren't adding any unnatural kind of elements, and we're really proud of how things are looking so far. Throughout this space, we have different methods of growing, and this is kind of more traditional market gardening where things are close together and we're really trying to maximize efficiency and yield. And so this is kind of what we refer to as our food plot. But we also have another plot across from it where we're growing more berries. So this is our perennial section where everything here will be perennial. And imagine soon in the future a mini orchard as well. We plan to put some orders in for apple and pear trees this fall for a spring planting. Perennials are super awesome because they come back year to year. But the first year there tends to be a very small or weak harvest. I did get a handful of raspberries the other day, but this year is really their growing year. So we've got 2 rows of red raspberries, 2 rows of black raspberries, and 2 rows of blackberries. Berries are also really nice because they just provide a different texture to the space. They do attract a lot of birds as well, so as we go through the space you might see some birds flying around. You'll notice that I'm working my way through weeding this section. It's really essential that we keep this area nice and tidy since we want to keep these plants healthy for a while, not just a season. Weeding is one of those tasks that I lean on volunteers a lot for. I am the only full-time staff member down here, so I am super grateful to anyone who shares some of their time with us, whether it's for full 3-hour shifts or just coming in to help me water in the morning. But this has been a big project recently. Like I said, we're practicing a lot of different methods of agriculture, and something that's really important in gardening or farming is building healthy soil. So these are very active food plots, but our next food plot isn't quite as active, but it is still very essential to our operation. So one way to build soil health is to put in a cover crop. So over here you'll see we have a cover crop planted. This cover crop is a little unique because rather than just planting one variety, there's about 11 or 12 different plants out there. Some of those plants include sorghum, flaxseed, buckwheat, sunflower, sun hemp, cowpea, and it's going to create this really cool looking field with a variety of heights and textures, but also each of those plants is kind of adding something different to our soil. So with a cover crop like this, we'll let it grow until the majority of things are flowering, and then which is essential, before it seeds, we mow it down. And this really helps to build soil health, but it's also really important to keep your soil covered. So we try to not have bare soil showing, just to kind of keep our soil in place. And again, to use this space wisely. With just me right now, it would be really hard to manage all of these food plots. So it's nice that we're able to kind of use this space as something beautiful and something that also is helping the soil. Soil is really the backbone to any good growing site. And so it's really important to kind of demonstrate or practice good soil maintenance and whatnot. Another awesome benefit to this growing site is that we have 3 high tunnels or greenhouses and soon to be 4. So greenhouses really help to extend your growing season so that you can grow all year long. This past season, Farmer John in Newark was harvesting greens up until like mid or late March, which is so awesome, and we hope to replicate something similar here. So our first greenhouse is a heated greenhouse, and this is really important for a garden or for a farm because it allows you a space to start your seeds in the early spring or late winter when it's still pretty cold out. So in that space, we'll keep it nice and warm to get our plants started, and that's also where we'll start our plants for our annual plant sale. Our other 2 tunnels and future 3 tunnels aren't heated, but they really insulate the space well. So you'll notice the roof is raised and the sides are rolled up right now to keep that space cool. The roof vent is really cool because it really helps to send the hot air up because hot air rises. In this tunnel, we have a combination of tomatoes and peppers growing right now. And in around 2 to 3 weeks, we'll pull those plants and start with some fall crops. It's really essential sometimes to pull plants before they're dead necessarily. So when we pull these plants, they'll probably still look healthy, but if we don't pull them in time, then our fall crops won't have enough time to establish. But don't worry, we'll still have tomatoes in the garden. So we have prepared for this by doing something called a succession planting. So out in the field, we have tomatoes growing, and we have cucumbers and squash, which was what was in our other tunnel, so that when we pull these, we'll start harvesting more from the field, and those crops can be harvested up until our first frost. But in here, we'll have carrots and turnips and radishes and kale and collards and broccoli and cauliflower all tucked in so that we have a nice fall and winter crop to come. We can take a look in this tunnel so you get an idea of what's going on. When you step in, whenever I give a tour in person, you can feel the temperature really shift as soon as you enter this space. It tends to be much warmer. And in here you can see our beautiful tomatoes that are just thriving. They're really tall. I love growing tomatoes in this space because we're able to trellis them on lines. You kind of pick a single leader, which is another benefit of volunteering. You kind of get to learn plant care knowledge that an average gardener might not know, but a farmer can definitely teach you. And so in this method, we kind of train a single leader, and it stops the plant from being on the ground, and it looks super cool. So we're really happy with our tomato harvest so far, and same thing with our bell peppers on the side. Earlier in the season, we had some scallions in our cropped in here, but we've harvested them since then. And I'll show you what it looks like as we prep for our fall crops. So we pulled our cucumbers and squash on Tuesday with the help of volunteers. It was really special because my Tuesday volunteers actually planted the cucumbers and squash. They helped me harvest them all season. And then we kind of closed it out and pulled them out this past Tuesday. It's really unique volunteering in the garden because you get to see the full cycle of the plants if you stick around. And then this coming Tuesday, they'll get to help me plant some fall crops in here. So you'll see we have our beds with our irrigation set up, our mulched pathways, and the cucumbers were climbing up this netting. We hope to reuse this netting if I roll it right and it doesn't get tangled. So we'll just kind of roll it up and zip tie it to the ceiling until next season when we use it again. But we're always trying different methods of trellising, which is when you train a plant to grow up. So this is one way. In the tomato tunnel, we saw another way with a single line. We're always trying new things, learning from gardeners and farmers and neighbors alike. I mentioned that we are getting ready for our fourth tunnel, which will be in this space. So this season we grew onions in this space. Our onions are currently curing inside, and they'll be going to the pantry shortly. In the meantime, we've got some buckwheat out here because, like I said, we try not to have bare soil. Buckwheat is a great cover crop because it's a pretty quick turnaround, and our pollinators love the white flowers. So hopefully this high tunnel will be in time so that we can get some fall crops in here and be harvesting from 3 tunnels all winter long. The final spot I want to show you is the memorial garden, which I think is one of the more pretty sections of the farm, or of the garden, sorry, because it incorporates flowers and vegetables. This is something that maybe our neighbors or our volunteers might be able to replicate more easily in their own homes. Planting in the ground, there's a lot of components you need to think about in terms of your soil health. You want to make sure your soil is not toxic. In some areas, you don't want to dig because of pipes and whatnot. But raised beds are a great way to kind of divert from those concerns, and we can fill them with super rich topsoil. So in our beds, we just cleared out our kale beds because we had a little bit of a bug infestation, and I'll get some turnips in there this afternoon. But we've got a mix of crops like watermelons and beans and cabbages. We've got eggplants and sweet peppers and tomatoes out here. But then we've got it mixed with some really beautiful flowers. Something that brings me a lot of joy is that a lot of the perennial flowers that you see planted in the memorial garden were dug out by our volunteers from their gardens and brought here and transplanted. So these Japanese irises are from George. We have some cactus from Dave. We have some irises from my mom. We have some canna lilies from Beth. And it's a way that they're able to kind of not just donate their time, but a piece of their own home, which I think is super special. And I can't wait for some of these to kind of root healthier so that we can get some beautiful flowers. But we are hoping that we continue to grow our volunteer base. I'm so happy with the volunteers that we have met and had in the space so far. Not only is it a great way to get outside and learn more about gardening and food production, but it's a great way to make friends. I mean, my volunteers go to barbecues together now. They stop at the cafe for lunch, and it's a great way to bond and connect with people who you might not otherwise meet. So I encourage everyone to check out Volunteer Hub. We do have a Saturday shift coming up, which has been requested by many on September 14th, leading up to our Farmer and the Chef dinner on September 19th, where we'll need a lot of hands to make sure that this space looks ready for a glamorous night. But I appreciate you guys checking out our garden today, and I hope to see you soon.